To hear. Not always good to hear when you're a 50-year-old guy that's going to be playing against these guys, but
well, yeah, it happens. But you every few years you kind of need to replenish that roster. It's not like it was. I'm sounding like an old guy saying this, but I can remember even 10, 12 years ago, it was pretty much the same core of guys you play with for a decade. We had guys like Freed, McClung, Chuck Moore, Soto, myself, Brian Winewood. But it's in the last 5 years or so, it's like every few years you need an infusion of new guys just to kind of keep it going. And that's just the way things have changed. Guys don't stick around playing 15, 20 years in this league like they used to.
And again, with the additions, especially like with some of the moves that we've talked about already, I know there's going to be more, coming ahead, but it's just making the league stronger too, and it makes the teams a little bit more even. We saw, like we said last year, the parity and stuff was pretty decent for most of the teams, and you move things around, shuffle around. It might even make it a little more competitive again this year. So looking forward to, hopefully we get out there and get this league going and on time, especially. But if we're pushed back a little bit, hopefully it's not too long, because of the virus. But yeah, that's good to hear. So I want to say thank you for being patient with me and flipping the roles here and let me do the interview and learn a little bit from the master. But but thanks again, and I'll let you take back over the duties once we get on our next guest.
Which may be you. Who knows?
It could
You'll
be.
have to listen to find out. All right.
All right. Thanks, man. Talk to you.
All right.
Hey, thanks again, Jason. Thanks for letting me flip the roles there and get out of my comfort level and allow me to do that. I appreciate that. Let's get back into the regular roles, though, and we'll go ahead and preview the 2020 Colts with myself.
And this segment is brought to you by BP Bats. BP Bats, built by players for players. BP Bats are built by individuals who understand the process and understand the grind. Regardless of your skill level, you'll find the lumber here that won't let you down. BP Bats. Contact us at bpbats.com.
And our next team preview is going to be another one hitting close to home here. The Colt 45s last year with an up and down season, had some issues with some injuries along the way, finished with a final record of 15-16, and that's obviously something they're looking to improve upon in the 2020 season. And to discuss what they have done about that and much more, our good friend Ray Sterling. And Ray, I think the roles have officially reversed from the last interview.
Yeah, we just back to back. We'll flip it here. So that I'm in more in my comfort zone now, I think, though.
There you go. Let's talk about last season a little bit. Colt 45s, 15-16. Obviously, you guys had a lot of 500 and better seasons last year. I think you can attribute a lot of that to dealing with some injuries, not the least of which the arm issues that you went through. But obviously the runs never an issue. The Colt lineup usually produces a lot of runs. It's all about preventing other teams from scoring, and you guys probably need to pick up some extra pitching to help bolster the staff this year.
Yeah. Last year was a tough year for us. We had a lot of injuries and was really short on pitching last year. And then, of course, right into playoffs too. Me going down even worse than I battled through the whole season with a little bit of pain and different things, but velocity down a little bit this past year and things, and so definitely didn't help us any. But hoping to turn the page coming up this year. We one of our good arms is coming back, Scotty Mars, who has played with us in the past and is taken off for the last couple years. And he had the injury bug as well. He is back and going to be in full strength. Bestie is going to try to make it more for us this year. That's an awful big trip for him to be coming down all the way from South Bend, but he definitely is going to be coming down more for us this year. It'll probably be mostly weekends, of course, with him. Then I know we've added a couple new guys to the roster. We've had a couple free agents. I have not met them yet, but I think Murph has talked to them and said that looks like they're going to be able to help out the team a little bit. And then there's a Denton Denton Robertson and James Riley.
Hey, Riley's the beer guy. Those guys listening on the free agent list that I send out players, he's the guy that works for Westside Brewing. Hint, hint for a little plug there, maybe a sponsorship. He works for Westside Brewing and said he pitched at the University of South Florida. Looks like you guys were fortunate enough to pick him up off the free agent list. But again, a pitcher and a guy who works at a brewery, what more can you ask for?
I know, and that fits well with us. I mean, that's perfect for us. So, yeah, and we'll get Nagel. Mike Nagel's coming back.
Oh yeah, Mike
Nagel. Yeah. So really looking forward to that. Missed him last year a lot. And he's a good guy, and he's just as this core group that is together with the Colts. It's as other teams are, but I mean this is really a good brotherhood, and we get really close together. Everybody is pretty tight knit, and so when you get a missing piece like that, it takes a big chunk out of you. So it's going to be really good, and I'm glad that Mike's coming back.
Yeah, that'll be a big addition for you guys. When I look at the pitching staff last year, obviously you threw about 40 innings, and those are going to have to be replaced with your arm injury. Kevin Burke threw a lot of innings for you with 60. It looks like Gary King, I think he was dealing with some injuries last year, only threw about 43 innings. Do we know Gary's status for the year?
I know Gary was having surgery on a hernia, but he should be good to go. I know he threw some down in Florida and did all right. But my understanding is that Gary should be back, ready to go day one with us. And of course, we'll have Burke back. Scotty Mars will look to eat up the innings probably more than even with me missing. We are going to be down my arm. Definitely, hopefully, I'll be able to pitch by July, June or July. We're going to go through some series of some shots and different things and see how that goes. So I'm just going to be infield and hitting. So that'll take away some innings. But I know Mike Deerwester started throwing at the end of the year last year, so he may be getting back onto the mound again this year. Throws pretty hard. He's got to just work on some of his command, but that's just from not throwing for so long. So hopefully we'll be stronger with the pitching. And again, like we said, the injury bug last year just really hurt us. I mean, 3 of our top hitters went down with injury last year. Towards the end, then we lost Gary, who couldn't pitch. So we just really, Burke just wore himself out. And then, of course, we know my injury got worse in the playoffs. So finally did it in and did the tear in that part of the playoffs. So hopefully this year we'll be able to battle up there for the top spots up in the playoffs and be able to maybe make that top 8 and see what happens.
Yeah, make a little run at it. I was just kind of looking at the results from last year. It was pretty interesting with the Colts. Where kind of the drop off started. Middle of August, you guys threw 3 consecutive shutouts. One of which was you throwing the one hitter against the Meridians. When I look at it there, but then it looked like that must have been the point where some injuries started setting in. Some of the runs given up, 11, 10, 11, 11, 21 against the Mudcats. Seemed like maybe the wheels kind of fell off there at the end of the season, and unfortunately for you guys, that was right in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, because last year my role for the most part was trying to be kind of the closing deal and be the closer to come in and not really start too many games. And the actual game against the Meridians was actually supposed to be Gary's start, and with Gary hurting, we had to make some changes and things like that. So it worked out pretty good for us then. But yeah, you could just see the wear and tear on Burke. It wasn't so much injury. I think it was just more tiredness. He hadn't had to throw that much, and it
does happen.
Yeah, you just wear down. So, but and then of course the hitting, and when you have those players out, not only the top 3 hitters that we had that was producing runs and things, but those guys were good defensive players too. So that took a hit for some defense and things like that. So last year was the injury plagued year. Hopefully this year we'll start off the year good and continue through there and stay healthy and be able to compete.
And it sounds like you have some good reinforcements coming. Some of the guys that we had mentioned there. Anybody of significance who will not be returning to the Colts in 2020 that you know of?
Actually, no. There's nobody that we are losing, especially any significant players. There are a couple fill-in players that were part-time last year. I'm not sure if they're going to be back this year. But other than that, I mean, as far as our core team, our core guys are all back. And then like I said, we got a couple additions. There is still a possibility of us adding a couple more. I know, I'm working on one of the kids that used to play at Highlands who is now, he's 26. And so trying to see about getting him out. He mainly used to be a pitcher, so he's not able to pitch yet. But he did play some outfield and was a decent ball player. So he's got a lot of speed. So, and then that's where my recruiting line starts there. I'm going to start, hey, filter out, find me these players. So
there you go.
So that we can start getting some of them younger guys,
Exactly. It's the way it works. Well, I'm glad there are no Colts entered the transfer portal, and you have some talent coming in that should help things out for you guys in 2020. Appreciate you taking time with us here to go over the Colts 2020 season. Looking forward to enjoying it. And I guess like we've been saying to everybody else, let's get rid of this coronavirus and play some ball.
It sounds good to me. I'm ready for it. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Ray.
All right. See you.
And there's your preview for the 2020 Colts. Thanks again, Jason, for let's getting the Colts inside that preview lineup. And thanks for Murph for trusting me into getting that info out to you guys. I appreciate that. So at this point, we're going to move on to the next segment where we're going to bring in Fisher with the Braves with some news.
Our next team preview is of a ball club that made great improvements in 2019. They went from having losing records in 2017 and 2018 to the Final Four in 2019. Talking, of course, about the Dayton Braves, our guest now, the manager of the Braves, Taylor Fisher. And Fish, thanks for joining us here on the season preview.
Thanks for having me. I needed something to do on this rainy quarantine day.
Well, you're not contagious, are you?
No.
Asking for a friend.
Well, just like we discussed earlier, I think I've already had it. And
you got immunity. You're good to go.
I got immunity now, so I'm ready to rock and roll.
Well, let's talk about something a little more fun than coronavirus, shall we?
Yes.
We'll talk about baseball. Dayton Braves last year. Well, you went from, 2017 and 18. We mentioned some seasons. You had some good things, but ultimately losing records. And then last year, boom, all the way to the Final Four. What happened?
Well, really, to be honest with you, it was the same cast of characters, really. I think we managed our guys a little bit more efficiently. Your schedule that you gave us was, helped out quite a bit too. Except for those two games against the Colts.
Well, yeah. The Colts, and Ray can attest to this, have been giving you fits for 3 years now.
Yeah. 3+ years, actually.
Well, you just add in the fourth.
Well, good back and forth battles when we were in the Dayton League, but, they just got our numbers in the new CABL, so.
So your team last year won a ton of games. You had some newcomers, Tom Ricciardi. He hit 5 home runs for you. That was a good addition for your ball club. And it looked like some guys threw a few more innings for you last year. Carroll, Sizemore, Berger, and Jones all were able to throw quite a few innings for you.
Correct. Kopus was thrown in there too. Kopus threw probably 10 times the amount he did the previous year. And he actually threw against the second and final game of our season against the Meridians and threw pretty well. I mean, the game was a 5-3 contest going into late. In fact, we actually took the lead early on them. It was like a 2-0 lead. But Kopus held his own. We just had that one bad inning where they scored, I think, 4 or 5 runs in one inning, and then we ended up losing, I think, 7-3 or 7-4 was the final.
So when you look at the prospects for the 2020 season for the Braves, what new faces should we expect to see on the Braves this year?
Well, 2 guys that are not new per se, but they are going to join us for a full-time stint, and that's Bristol and Ricciardi. Both of those guys were only part-time last year. They played in the Miami Valley Adult Baseball League half and half with us, but this year they decided to commit to us, and having them full-time is going to be huge for us.
Oh yeah, both Impact guys there. Yeah,
absolutely,
no doubt.
Absolutely. And then the other